Okay, we're going to get started. All right, so thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking time out of your Saturday just to kind of check in with us and see what's going on. I'm Anna Price, and I'm the owner of Skylark House. And if you don't know what Skylark House is, we refurbish furniture, we sell antique and vintage items, and we do DIYs like the one I'm going to share with you today. I also want to take a moment to thank Miss Mustard Seed Milk Paint for collaborating with me and giving me this opportunity to do this milk paint demonstration with you. It's just awesome, and they're a fabulous company to work with. There's just so many reasons I enjoy working with them and like them. One of them being Chris Hardeen, who is going to be fielding all the questions and comments that you guys are going to be typing into the chat pod. So thank you, Chris, for helping out. None of this would be possible without you, that's for sure. So today we're going to do a project that's in honor of Teacher Appreciation Month. If we have learned anything in the last 2 years, it's that we really, really, really appreciate our teachers. They really are an integral part of our society and our ability to function. Some people can't go to work if they don't have teachers. And more importantly, they are preparing our generation, the next generation. So they're just very, very important in my opinion, and we should appreciate them. So that's what we're going to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a little caddy for them. Well, the caddy is actually, thrifted, but we're going to paint it so it looks like this. And we're going to fill it with goodies for the teachers. So let's start off with some supplies. So first of all, you're going to need some milk paint. This is a color known as By the Sea, and it's the color of the month. So we're going to be using this particular color today just so you can see what it looks like. If you don't know about milk paint or you're not familiar with it, it comes in a powder form. And then you mix it with water, and it's usually a 1-to-1 ratio. So you use a 1/4 cup of paint and a 1/4 cup of water. And then you can add more water or more powder to kind of get the consistency that you're looking for. And generally, I like to say you want it to kind of look like pancake batter. That's the kind of thickness and consistency you're looking for. So we're going to be using this today. And then we're going to be using a product that's called Milk Mix Easy. And this is, you just really put on like 2 or 3 drops of this. And this just helps with the milk paint and the water integration. This is old packaging, but we're also going to be using a little bit of this. This is a bonding agent. It's called Milk Grip. That's the new name. So we're going to be adding a little bit of this to our paint formula as well. And then we're going to be using a little bit of milk wax. And this is just a clear wax that's used to seal the paint. In terms of tools, obviously, paintbrush, right? We're going to use some tape. I like to use frog tape. And then we're going to use a wax brush. And this is what a wax brush normally looks like. If you don't have one of these, you can use a chip brush and just cut the tip off of it so it's a little bit stiffer, and you can apply the wax with a chip brush. Okay, so I think that covers it. Oh, and then the other thing is we're going to need a couple of rags, a damp rag and just a soft, clean, dry terry cloth rag for buffing off the wax. Okay, so that's the supplies, pretty basic. As far as these little wooden boxes, these little caddies, I think they're just endlessly useful. And what we're going to be doing today is painting it in a milk paint color. Here's some completed ones. This one is painted in linen. This one is painted in the color Bergère, which is almost like a gray-blue color. It's really pretty. And then this one here, this one is painted in the color By the Sea, which is this month's milk paint color. Okay? So the idea is that you can give a teacher one of these caddies, which they can use for organizing their lives. You know, if you know teachers, you know they have a lot of stuff that they need to use to grade papers and bring to the classroom and keep in the classroom. So these are just, you know, practical and useful. And these are easy to find too. So this particular one, I don't know, found it probably at like a thrift store or something. But you can get them at antique stores. You can buy them online. You can buy them at yard sales. They're pretty easy to find. And they're not that expensive. They're usually just a few dollars. I think this large one was $10, but it's not anything that should, you know, break the bank, right? And with gas prices being what they are, we all need the money to save money however we can, right? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, let me move this out of the way so you guys can see. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this little wooden box, and we're going to sand it, which I forgot to add in our list of supplies. You need sandpaper. This is 150 grit sandpaper. And you're just going to go around, and the idea here is to scuff sand it. So you're just going to go around all the edges, all the sides. You're going to get the handle, right? And you should probably spend, I would say, maybe 15 minutes or so sanding. To the extent you can, try to sand the inside. And this really kind of serves two purposes. Number one is just if it's something that you found or that you bought from an antique store, you want to kind of get any of the existing like dust and, you know, just kind of clean it up a little bit. But also you want to create a surface that the milk paint can adhere to. So when you sand it, it creates something called tooth, and it creates a surface that the milk paint can adhere to. So this has already been sanded. I spent some time last night sanding it. So it's good to go. I just want to show you what the process is. So once you're done sanding, you take your damp rag and just wipe things down. You want to make sure it's clean, right? You want to get off all the dirt. Just go around on all the sides. And then I like to wipe down the insides too, just to make sure that they're clean. There's no dust or debris in there. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. Just want to make sure that there's no dust in the corners. And I like to paint the bottom of the boxes too. So I always try to wipe them down and also, if necessary, sand them. So you can see that the bottom of this one has been painted, for example. Okay, so now we can move on to the next step. I like to leave the wooden handles in their kind of like their natural state. So if you look, for example, at this one, you can see how the wooden handle is not painted. And same for this one here. If you look, you can see the wooden handle is not painted. And I just like the contrast that provides. So I'm going to go ahead and tape off the handle. This is where the tape comes into play. And I just do the ends first to make sure it lines up, right? If you want a nice clean line, make sure it goes all the way around. I'll do the other side now. Again, you just want to make sure you have a nice, clean, straight line. And then what I do for the remainder portions is just kind of wrap it around. I can get that to stay. now your box should look like this, right? It's been sanded, it's been wiped down, and you've got this cover on it. Oh, there's a spot I missed. Okay, so now we're going to start painting. This is the fun part, the easy part. So I mix this milk paint up in advance, and you can see, I don't know if you can see the consistency of it. It kind of looks like pancake batter in terms of thickness and viscosity. And I did add, I think maybe 3 drops of this to it. And then I added about less than a 1/4 cup of the milk grip to it as well. And I added this to the paint because I didn't want a chippy finish. I didn't want the paint to like flake off or to do what it naturally does. I wanted it to really stick to the boxes. And because these were previously used, you don't know if there was oil or some kind of resist that could be on the surface. So I just wanted to be safe, which is why I added the bonding agent. Okay, so here we go. And this is, again, this color is By the Sea, which is the color of the month. So we're just going to go ahead and start painting. The great thing about milk paint is that it's non-toxic and all natural, so you don't have to worry about your pets or your kids, you know, or anyone really. It's nice to be able to use it and have peace of mind. So this is going to take a little bit of time. And you can see the first coat is going to be a little splotchy. Don't let that deter you. Just keep going. It'll probably take 2 coats of paint. It doesn't take long to dry. Go around to the other side. So, and then you can do this handle here. I like to paint the interior as well as the bottom. So I'm not going to paint the bottom now because I'm using it, you know, resting on the bottom for it to dry. But I'll go back and paint the bottom. So again, I should show you. If you look on the inside of this one, you can see that it's painted on the inside. Another tip is I find when you're working on small projects with really kind of like tight corners and with awkward angles, I find using a short-handled paintbrush is tremendously helpful. It's much easier to work around in all of the odd areas. This is probably going to take, I don't know, maybe, 20 minutes to paint the first coat, I'm thinking maybe. And it's really beautiful here today. It's a little on the warm side, but, if I were to set this outside, it would dry very quickly, which is why I love working on projects in the summertime. So you can see it's starting to kind of take shape. It looks less like a brown wooden box, and it's looking a little bit more like something from the sea. Okay. here and do this side. So another tip for you guys too is if you go to the dollar store, which is now the $1.25 store, you can buy these little plastic kind of Tupperware containers that come with lids. And I use these for pretty much all of my milk paint projects because oftentimes I'll mix up extra milk paint and I want to keep it. So I'll just mix it in these little containers, put a lid on it, and put it in the refrigerator. And then my fiance wants to know what's in all the plastic containers in our refrigerator. And can he eat anything in them for lunch? But anyways, it's a good way to kind of, save the paint and use it if you want to like finish up your project the following day. Hopefully you guys can hear me. All right. Okay, so she's not looking beautiful, not yet. But you can see we've got the first coat of paint on her. And we can set her aside. Okay, we'll have to go back and put another coat. But I also want to show you, like, the first coat always looks a little splotchy. And, sometimes people get alarmed by that. Don't get alarmed. It's normal. This is just how milk paint is. When it dries and you add another coat, it'll be perfect, okay? So we have to wait for that to dry, which we're not going to do today because we don't have time. But I do have this little guy here I want to show you. So this one has already been painted. You can see it's had 2 coats of paint. And what I want to show you now is how to seal it using Miss Mustard Seeds milk wax in clear. So I use these little round brushes, which I showed you in the beginning. But if you don't have one of these quote-unquote wax brushes, you can use a tip brush, which is what I said earlier. Okay, so I just kind of dab this brush in here. And this is really like the consistency of butter. Can you see the interior there? So it's great to work with. And it's non-toxic. It's all natural. It smells good. It doesn't have that chemical smell that a lot of other waxes have. So I just put a little bit on my brush, not a lot, and then I just apply it in a circular motion. I just go around all the sides and the edges. You can try to get on the insides. Try to get on the inside faces there. Make sure it's in there pretty good. And if you can't reach all the corners with your brush, you can always use like a little rag and just, or even your fingers, and you can scoop some out and you can rub it on that way too. So that's another tip to kind of get in those, really tight corners. Okay. Then we take the dry rag and we just buff it off. Okay. And there you have it. You have your teacher appreciation caddy. It's done. And I want to show you some examples of things you can fill or you can put in the caddy, right, to give to your teacher to show them how much you appreciate them. So, for example, for this one, I just put fresh lilacs in here. I put some canning jars in there and put some fresh lilacs in there. So you can use fresh flowers. For this one, I put some fresh herbs that are in pots, small pots, and some seeds, right? So that's another idea. But you could also, if your teacher is into baking, you could put like a cookie mixture in here for them. You could also make a s'mores kit and put it in here. If your teacher is artistic, you could put art supplies in here and give it to them. So there's just a whole bunch of different things that you can put in these caddies to give to your teachers. And it doesn't have to be expensive, and it doesn't have to be complicated. So anyways, I think that's it. Thank you for joining us today. Oh, one more thing before I forget. There will be a blog post next week where I will walk you through this project again, step by step. So if you feel like you missed something from the video or you want additional information, just go ahead and hop over to the Mist Mustard Seed Milk Paint website and then click on the blog. And I believe by Friday of next week, the blog post will be up. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. And I'm going to say you can reach out to Chris Hardeen as well. And that's it. Have a great weekend, and make sure you tell the teachers how much you appreciate them. All right. Thank you. Bye.